All right. It seems that we are live on the Facebook now and yet another show of Seven Speak. And today we have a very interesting guest with us who is none other than Nikita Menon. Uh, Nikita, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having
uh,
me.
I am so excited to hear so many stories which I have already heard about you. And I really want now you to repeat them all over again because. Uh, I mean, it's very motivating to to hear that someone who's been raised in Singapore, then in Bangalore, and probably now you're studying in UK. And within all this, the common thread is, I think you are an excellent Bharatnatyam and a ballet dancer. That's your passion is all about.
Thank you.
For the benefit of our users, I just want to ask you: are you comfortable speaking in Hindi or English or both?
English, sorry.
English.
That's
Okay,
English, yeah.
perfectly
Sorry,
fine.
sorry to everyone out there, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Uh, I just want to tell our users that Seven Speak show is all about raising awareness and creating or igniting again the fire within the kids so that they can follow their passion. It's the portal for students, and therefore this show, through this show, we bring a lot of artists and a lot of students who are following their passion, and we really want the other parents should encourage their children to let the let them follow their passion and support in whatever they find interest in. I mean, move beyond books. That's definitely the message which we want to give. Our portal is www.7.n, and you'll find a ticker over here very soon. Nikita, without wasting time, I want you to first of all introduce yourself and tell our viewers who you are.
Okay, I am Nikita Menon. I am a Bharatanatyam dancer, and I'm also a student who is doing a master's in data science and artificial intelligence for the creative industries. So I'm doing that in London. Um, and I've been dancing all my life, so I don't know a life without it. So I started at 3. I've been training since I was 3, and I finished my diploma at 13. And after that, I've just been, performing, traveling the world. It's been really fun.
Good to hear that. I've read a bit about you before I actually, and I've made some notes. So the most glorifying statement in your profile is, what resonates best with me is the title of an artist. What's the connotation of a true artist to you?
Everyone would think that you have to be like a dancer or an actor to be an artist, but honestly, to me, anyone who creates anything is an artist. You need that level of creativity to do anything, actually. So people who code and make softwares, they are artists in their own ways. They're creating. There's something's happening in their head that makes them want to make something. So in that sense, everyone's an artist as long as you're creating things.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was the first time you got to realize your passion for dance, and how was this identified?
Um, so I heard this story from my parents. So this is when I was living in Kuwait, and we used to watch Doordarshan. I think, I don't know. And there used to be these dance shows on Doordarshan. I think it's still going on, and I used to love those. And this is when I was like a year old. So as cliche as it sounds, when people say, the art chose me, I completely go by that. It's not very often that people have that interest at a young age, and surprisingly, I did. So then I moved to Singapore, and then I started formal training when I was 3. Even that's a funny story. My parents put my sister in dance class, and then I used to tag along and cry that I wanted to dance, and she got out of dance, and I joined it. So that's how it happened.
All right. So it would be true to say that they have been supportive, of course, with you.
Absolutely. I think anything performing arts, you need your parents' support. You can't just, there's so much to it that you just have to have someone backing you all the time.
Okay. No, usually, there's a scenario that parents want children to follow uh, the book, the
Yeah.
school, the timetable, never miss your classes, and of course look at the career from the academic point of view, and not from something which is something which is your passion. So how did you balance that? How did this balance was maintained?
Um, I mean, I won't say that my parents were not like that. I think grades were still important, school was still important, and building a career outside of dance was still important. But I think it really helped that I started it at a really young age. So, that entire idea of balance just started at a really young age. So, even if it's having to balance dance in preschool or dance or primary school, it just grew with me. So, dance in secondary school, dance in college. So, it was very organic in that sense. So, it never felt like I was trying really hard to do something. I think that level of discipline was established really young, and I just went with it.
And by the time the grade matter, you already had balanced that.
Yeah,
You
so
were
it never felt like I was trying to work two different things. It just felt like one thing. This is just my life. There's dance, and then I come back home and I study. But it was fine.
okay. And how were you encouraged by your peers, your friends
Uh,
at school?
um, Yeah, it's very different when you live in a country like Singapore, where dance isn't Bharatanatyam isn't a very mainstream thing to do. So lots of people just don't understand it. So, when I'm like, oh, I have a show, I won't be coming to class this day. People just don't understand that, what it means. To them, it's like, oh, you're doing Bollywood dance, which is completely different. They just don't understand. I would say my friends now, they've seen me grow over the years. They finally do get it. And, they come from my shows. They put in lots of active interest to understanding the art form in general. Um, you know, because you don't have much access to learning when you're in Singapore. So, my friends there, you have to put in a lot more effort to understand the art form and actually support me in a
Okay.
deeper way. So
Right.
it's been nice.
So, would it be true to say that it's a kind of a lonely journey when your friends don't understand what you're trying to do, and sometimes you're left apart? Is it like a sometimes a lonely journey that you have to carry on the way you want? And
Mm, It's a yes and no. Some of
okay,
my closest friends are fellow dancers, so I always
okay,
have that company and that community who are I'm really close to. Even if in
okay,
Singapore, even in India, I always have that community.
okay.
Yeah, I think when I was younger and people would just not understand, it just felt like I was doing this completely alternate path in life, and I'm just like,
Mm.
no one understands what you're doing. No one's really interested either. No, like traditional arts, who wants that? Um,
Yes,
so that I mean, so it all I always felt different, but honestly, if I weren't different, I wouldn't have been able to use that to my advantage later in my life. So that's
correct,
yeah,
correct. As it is said, what you're saving in today by
yeah.
missing out on something becomes actually a bigger savings for you for your
Oh yeah,
lifetime, and
absolutely, absolutely.
for it's your art.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. I've asked this question again, but now since I have it a formally written question in my document, I'm going to repeat that again, but in a different, very formal way. You have been a student throughout. You have been the cultural prefect as well. How did you manage to organize your calendar? I mean, of course, I've asked you about the grades, but now I want to understand. This is not just the dance. It is also another cultural, a position which you've been holding in school, and I mean, it's a responsibility at school.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I yeah yeah. Well, I was in the student council and I was writing, and so this is I assume this is talking about my time when I was in Bangalore. When I
Okay,
was studying in Bangalore. So I was a resident student. I was in hostel, so there wasn't any other things I could do. So I would dance in the weekends. I would go out and I would train in the weekends. Then back in school, I have these 5 days to myself.
okay,
Um, I didn't have my phone with me. There's nothing else to entertain me. So, it's either study or, to be involved in other activities. So, I guess in that sense, student council was, very entertaining for me because I got to speak to other human beings because I don't have my phone. So, um, and, honestly, being in an international school in Bangalore was just such a unique experience. Um, because there are people from all over the world, and you're constantly learning. So even if you're having banter, you're learning about different cultures. You're learning about different people, and to be so actively involved in that, and growing yourself in a very fun way. So it didn't feel like I'm working. It's just really fun. So,
How many years did you spend in India?
I wish it were longer, but only 2. So,
Okay.
and so I really wish I could be there for longer. I think I would still say those were the 2 best years of my life.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so it would be right to say that for 2 years you've been raised with some Indian nationality of your age.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's great.
All right. So you had come all the long way from Singapore to study in India, and of course for your high school, and as a residential student. How has this transition been significant in adding value to your passion? Like you're enclosed in a boarding school.
Yeah.
I mean, was that? I mean, is it true to say that, like you said, you know, like a minute ago,
Mhm.
all you have is people to talk to. You have no phone. So was that time constructively used in practicing your passion, Bharatnatyam? And
I think absolutely. I think there are multiple ways to look at it. Singapore is a really small country, and I feel like I grew up in a bubble. It's just like really protected. Everyone was like my social circle is so curated. I don't see the outside world at all. It's a tiny country born into privilege. It's a very different world. So when I came to Bangalore, suddenly you meet the whole world. You meet some. You meet real. You meet the real world, and I think that's honestly a life changing experience. For I was 16 when I moved to Bangalore, and and I think that transition itself, not even talking about dance as well, I think that transition made me a much more mature person, living alone, having to find your own friends, you're not in that comfort zone anymore. And I think as an artist, how it changed me was, I was training with one of the best gurus in Bangalore, Nagamani Srinivasa Rao. She passed away last year. And she's incredible. So I had the opportunity to train with the best in the world in the
okay,
weekends and in the weekdays. You know, learning about new cultures itself is a very inspiring, very inspiring process. I can't put words to how amazing it is to one of my best friends from Rwanda, and she'll be like, oh, this is what is in African culture, and it all just inspires you. Even now, the kind of music has I listen to has changed. The way I view contemporary dance or dance in general is very different. The way I view art is very different. And I feel like those conversations and those people I met really shaped me for the future.
all right. There's one award and accolade which I read in your profile, that your diploma from Singapore Indian Fine Arts Society with the prestigious acclaim of Natya Visharad. That's how you
Right.
pronounce it.
Yeah, Natya Visharad.
Okay, that was at the age of 13. How was your experience, and what was your resolution as someone who is an expert at that stage? It's like been there, done that at 13 years.
Well, that was very exciting for me because no one else had it at 13. So I was really excited about it, and obviously, and as much as I did get it at that age, I feel like I would have been more appreciative of it if I got it in a later stage of life, because I was too young to completely understand the implications of to have an art form in my hands. And it's the art is always bigger than you, and I feel like the older you are and the more you've gone through that journey, you completely treasure it more. You're deeper into it. But I mean, finishing my diploma at that age was nonetheless very exciting, and in terms of how I felt, but in terms of how what I did with it, it opened a lot. I mean, lots of paths for me. So I managed to be signed into a company at 18, which is really rare. I got so many opportunities to perform. So all that was great, and so that was really nice.
I just want to convey this again to our viewers, that 7.in is a review school review platform, which we began earlier this year. Unfortunately, we've all been hit with COVID-19, and we were under lockdown. Many prestigious schools are working with us. It's a platform where we allow schools to showcase their best practices within the parent community, and the parent community can write reviews on schools so that the other fellow parents can value find it valuable to, so that they can select the right school for their child. I mean, there's a lot of transition between, when people work abroad. uh, they change cities because, I mean, in search of better job opportunities. And due to this, a lot of, many times it's the kid who, is exposed to so many schools, and sometimes you end up choosing probably the school which you thought was excellent, and it was not so excellent. I won't say an average school, because I personally feel all schools are good. And it's important that, also feel that, business like ours should never exist, because it is so bad to shop for a school. All schools should be good. One should not shop for the school. There should, I mean, all schools should be equal and competent enough to deliver the values which we want in in our kids. So this is platform. Please share it with the people, and prepare a portfolio of your kids. We do have social network for ourselves, Facebook and Instagram. We have LinkedIn for our professional life, but there is no portal to create an academic portfolio of our child. So as young as 13 years old, we encourage parents to create a digital memory of their kids, so that it is easy for their passions, which can be, of course, nurtured at a later stage and to be identified by a professional organization. I'll come back to the next question, which I've already written. uh, Share your experience of being covered in the prestigious Harvard Bazaar and the National Geographic Asia.
That is two very, very exciting things that have happened in my life this year, actually. Well, Harper's Bazaar, most people know it as a fashion magazine, and the only people you see are like, the top models, top actors. So to be featured on Harper's Bazaar, and the first time that there's a Bharatanatyam dancer featured for being a Bharatanatyam dancer, it's just incredibly, I mean, it felt incredible because I felt like I opened the doors to so many other artists, classical artists out there, and and to be seen as mainstream. So I think that's the idea that the mainstream media has finally accepted Bharatanatyam as something worthy of being featured in a magazine that talks about the top brands and the top models and the top actors. So it was incredible to be featured by them. The whole idea, the whole process of them like approaching me was so random. I didn't even think it was real. So I thought someone was pranking me and being like, "Oh, I need to talk to you. I'm from Hafiz Best." I was like, "Sure, buddy." Um, and it actually ended up being it was actually legit, and I didn't even know about it until 7 months after the article was published. I didn't expect it to be happening, and then I found it finally on Google, and I was like, "Wow, I'm on Harper's Bazaar today." And well, Nat Geo actually it happened 2 months ago. It was released last month. Um,
Mhm.
so that was again, very exciting. So the company I was working for as a dancer, Upstairs Arts Singapore. So like earlier this year, we actually won an award for being the cultural stewards of Singapore.
Okay.
And so National Geographic was trying to make a documentary about um, arts and culture in Singapore. So, and they approached us because the company won this award, and I was asked if I can be a part of it because all the other people they were interviewing and shooting were males in other like artistic fields in Singapore, and then I was like, sure thing, that's very exciting. So it feels great to have your story shared on Nat Geo.
I
Okay.
have seen that video. Trust me, it is so inspiring, and the way it
Thank
has been
you.
taught at your dance moves, and I think it is a complete mirror image of in Indian culture over there. at that moment when I I mean, the way it has been shot, and of course your art, the way
Thank
you presented it, it's awesome. My heartiest congratulations for you to have
you.
done that.
Thank you.
uh, my next question, which is probably my second last question, uh, what's the message for our viewers, parents, schools, teachers, and young students, especially from India? The reason I asked you that, how much time you've spent in India. India. We are almost beyond 130 million people over here,
Mm. Yeah.
and I think there's so much talent in this country. We have good, as I mean, I always say this on my show, we have aspiring coders, golfers, footballers,
Mm.
dancers, rappers, chefs, bakers. My son, he's an awesome baker, and I really want his talent to be nurtured, it's in something, into a professional career.
Mhm.
uh, and I'm sure in every house there's so much talent.
Yeah.
Most of us, we are, we've always looked at students, that they should complete their homework and follow the road timetable.
Yeah.
I want this to come from you, somebody who's done that. What's the message for students?
You know, I feel like kids are gonna hate me for saying this, but um, you need to do both. And hear me out on this. You know, as much talent as you have, unfortunately, the world is in a place where you need to be at the right place at the right time. The most
Correct.
incredibly talented person may not get the respect or the admiration he deserves, and the chances of making it or breaking it with pure talent is
Correct.
it's a really slim space. So you can't count on working really really hard on your talent either. And
Correct.
I think that's something that my parents always like told me, that you might be a good dancer now, but if you break your leg, that's it. Then what are you going to do after that? So I think I always grew up with the idea that there might be an expiration date to whatever talent you have. So so it was really important that I do both. And that doesn't mean I like pressured myself into like I always have to get like the best grades or anything. It's not about that. It's just building two together. So one can be better, it's fine, but you build up both. You have your grades as a backup. It's like fire in my head, like I just have to get through. I need to understand my stuff, but that's it. That's about it. And of course I work on my dance, rehearse like all the time. So you always have to bring that up. And to parents I would say, give your kids all the support you can. Um, I'm really lucky that my parents actually identified what I was good at, and at really young, they found out that I had this passion to do this at one. And that's very rare, and I feel like every kid has talent. Every kid has something that they're good at. It's just that they or their parents have just not discovered it.
Right.
And the kind of wild things I've made my parents do for me for dance is crazy. I've dragged them to shows overnight. I've made them watch Kathakali through the night, and they had no interest in watching, and I'm just like, you have to do this for me. And I was 6 years old. So they've done some wild things for me. And to all the parents, you want your kids to like get somewhere, you have to do wild things. I'm sorry. And to the kids out there, I think just don't be complacent with like just be like, oh, I'm talented, I'm gonna get somewhere. It's a tough world. There's so many other people, so many people who might be this like tiniest smidge more talented or tiniest smidge luckier, and that's about it. So you have to have both. Yeah.
I want to congratulate you once again for
Thank
coming to our show, and I wish you all the best in life.
thank you.
May you get what you want in this one life. I
Thank
always say this.
you. And thank you for
And
having me.
keep inspiring, keep motivating. I wish to see you very soon. Whenever you are in India, do meet
Oh
us.
yes. Oh yes, absolutely.
Thank you for coming to our show. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much for having me.
Most welcome. Bye bye. All the best.
Bye.